This podcast may contain spoilers from whatever TV show or movie is mentioned. Please listen at your own discretion. Welcome to Viewers Anonymous.
Yo, what's going on? I am Scoots Bronson.
Yeah, this guy. We having too fun with that soundboard, man. And I am S. Foster.
That's right, man. And you tune into another episode of the Viewers Anonymous podcast where we give you our very own reviews and takes of movies and TV straight out of Hollywood. What's going on, man?
Listen, man, I can't call it, man. Just another day in the lab, man. Just trying to. Hey, man, I'm just keeping my head above water. You know what I mean?
I hear that.
That's all I'm doing, I am, man. But how you feeling? Everything good with you?
Yeah, man. I'm doing great, man. I'm super excited, man. My son is he just started cross country, and you know what I'm saying. He's been practicing this week. This is his first, you know what I'm saying, week of practice. And you know what I'm saying, he had some meets early on. Um, had one today. Did pretty good, man. And I was proud of him, man. He did a real good job for a kid, you know what I'm saying, to have never, you know what I'm saying, had done the sport or anything like that. I feel like he did pretty good, man. So I'm excited to see how he finished out the year and, you know what I'm saying, how that go on later on in life.
That's what's up, man. Proud of the little homie.
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate
Especially, you know what I'm saying, trying, anytime you're trying a new sport,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
Well,
It
see,
could be.
earlier this year he was playing soccer and he liked it, but he didn't like it because it wasn't like it was one of those like volunteer type leagues. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Where it's like volunteer coaches, then it's like it's co-ed, so it's boys and girls on the team, and you know, everybody gotta get a chance and you know what I'm saying, participation trophies and shit. He didn't like that shit at all. And you know what I'm saying, full disclosure, I didn't push him to make him feel like that or nothing. I just told him, you know, just have fun. He was like, this is not what Ronaldo does. It's like Ronaldo don't do this in soccer. I was like, all right, man. So he didn't want to play soccer no more. I told him maybe if he get to high school, he can give it another shot and see if he like it then. But he was like, yeah, I'm not with it. So his mom convinced him to get into cross country because she ran track and stuff when she was in high school. So he did that. He started that this week, and he loving it so far. So we'll see how far it go. He was wore out by the time he got done, but he held on tight. He finished. So I was real proud of that part, man, because that's not an easy thing to do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But yeah. Outside of that, man, everything is great. I have no complaints, bro. I literally have no complaints. Super excited though because Michael Jai White is coming out with another banger, it looks like from the trailer. The Outlaw Johnny Black. I can't wait to go see this shit, man. I'm so excited. It's from the same people who made Black Dynamite, so you already know what type of time it's on. It's gonna be a bunch of action, whole bunch of comedy and shit like that. So I'm excited to see where they go with this one. Black Dynamite was hilarious. If you ain't never seen Black Dynamite, get you some popcorn, find it. If you gotta rent it, do that, or if you gotta buy it, do that. Or even if you got an old DVD player, dust that thing off, go get go get Black Dynamite and enjoy your life. I promise you, you can't go wrong. But yeah, it's it's from the same people who made Black Dynamite, same director, same producers, most of the same cast. Um, but this one, instead of it being like black exploitation, like or urban black exploitation, it's supposed to be a Western black exploitation. So it's supposed to be like a cowboy and some shit like that. So I'm excited to see that.
That's what's up. I think I seen the trailer for that though. I
Yeah.
believe I did.
Yeah, if you guys haven't seen anything about it, man, I had posted the poster up on the Viewers Anonymous Twitter page. I gotta find the trailer so I could post it on there too. But it's amazing. It's amazing. I like when Michael Jai White get into like that role, like anything that's dealing with like comedy and action and shit. Because we already know how he do with action. He's great at
Mhm.
that. That's like second nature. But he is a very underrated comedic actor as well. in Black Dynamite, he was hilarious. So I can only imagine what they're gonna bring in this new one. So man, we got a movie today from Apple TV. This was definitely one of your picks. Now, even though I have a gripe about it, I will say the two co-stars in this film are bar none top of the game right now.
Mhm.
And this is one of the things about Apple TV that kind of excites me about where they could possibly be going, because like recently, I want to say within maybe like the last 3 or 4 years, they have been getting some major names in their productions and in their projects. So I mean, the the two are Brian Tyree Henry and Jenifer Lawrence, and I'm sure that neither one of those two come at an easy ticket. But Apple TV found a way to make it happen. The movie we talking about is Causeway. It's pretty much about a lady who had pretty much been overseas in Afghanistan serving in the army as an engineer. She ended up getting well, her Humvee ended up getting blown up by IED. And while she was in there, her team ended up getting well, I don't want to say it. Well, I guess you could say assassinated. That's pretty much what it is. I believe she was the only one to survive. But she ended up getting PTSD and getting brain damage. We'll go into that later. And she ends up coming back home. As she's back home, she's dealing with her issues, and she ends up meeting a guy named James, who is a mechanic, and he also has issues and life problems that he's dealing with as well. And you know what I'm saying, they pretty much kind of end up becoming friends at the end of the day. So I'm gonna let you take the lead on this, man. You said that this thing was a banger. Um, you already watched it, rewatching it. How you feel?
Um, I mean, I felt pretty good about rewatching it, man. You know, you took the words out of my mouth. Like these two people are really like at the top of their game. With a lot of they're coming out with a lot of different material too. Like I'm interested in seeing that new movie that Jennifer Lawrence got coming out, that comedy joint she got coming.
I am
Um,
not.
it's with No Hard Feelings. Yeah, I heard like someone was talking about like she didn't like hold back as far as like being in a comedic role of like embarrassing herself. Like like it was like she really went like all out like to be like hilarious in this and
A bullshit?
hey boy you stupid but 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 nah though I think in this movie man I think what this movie showed me was how two people with having two traumatic things to happen in their life
Hmm.
and they were able to meet um by her mom, like the reason they even met in the first place because her mom was like, yo, like, here's the keys to the truck if you need the truck, whatever, all the type shit. She's riding down the road. All of a sudden the truck starts skipping and popping and shit and smoking and all this. So she just happened to take it to this mechanic shop and he just happened to be there.
Right.
And I think that because of the traumatic thing that happened in his past, I think number one, he was just a nice guy.
Hmm.
And then just kind of like, you know what I mean? Because there was a scene where he's talking to her and like, like, give me your number or some shit like that, and we could talk about it or whatever. And she's like, I don't know my number. He
Yeah.
was like, oh well, and she was like, no, like literally, I do not know my
No,
phone number.
he thought she was saying it because he thought
He
she
was trying to get the number.
yeah.
Yeah, and she was just like, yo, like I literally like don't know. So he ended up seeing like she ended up walking, and then he picks her up, and then they kind of build like this rapport like really quickly. And I think that what this movie, I think what this movie was trying to show us was just like there are, first of all, we don't know what a lot of people are going through in their personal life. That's number one. Like a
Right.
motherfucker can appear fine, on the surface, but then once you start peeling back the layers, you start seeing like, oh shit, like this person is dealing with a lot of shit. And
Mhm.
I think when it came to James, I think James was, dealing with a lot of guilt from an accident, which we'll get more into later on in the pod. But like he was dealing with a lot of guilt, from the accident that happened, and she's dealing with PTSD. She's dealing with guilt. She's dealing with the brain injury that causes her to drop shit because she can't function the way that she used to function,
Mhm.
and but also dealing with going back to a place where she don't, it's not that she don't love the city, it's just she just hate basically being at her mom's crib,
Right.
because she kind of felt like her mom's crib was like a kind of like a sinkhole, like nothing but bad shit happened there. She got nothing but bad memories of
Mhm.
even being there. But nah, man, like I think that um this is a movie that I don't know if it's because it's on Apple, it kind of got buried a little bit. Like,
Right.
well, a lot of people didn't see it, but I
Right.
will reveal this though, and I just found this out right before we started the pod. We speak about this a lot about like this podcast isn't like big on like Oscars and Oscar nominated and what I'm saying, Oscar winners and shit like that, because a lot of the times we feel like a lot of the movies that they be talking about, most of the time, majority of the time, we don't really fuck with them anyway.
Yeah, and I think really, and this is just my opinion. I think a lot of times when we talking about those movies that are getting so much acclaim from the Oscars, I think that that is their way of trying to find a way to promote that movie and those actors individually. Unless it's just like one of those movies that's just flat out you got to give it to them. You know what I'm saying? Like when the year that they had said that La La Land won and it didn't, and it was
Oh yeah, I remember that. What was it? Bird Box? What the fuck
oh, it
was it?
wasn't Bird Box. It was the movie with the black people.
Um,
The
oh, Moonlight.
Moonlight. Yeah, Moonlight was the movie that initially won, but when they opened it up, they just instantly was like La La Land. And then when the people got up there, they was like, yeah, this don't say La La Land, this say Moonlight. So you know what I'm saying? Like, um, I think that because you know what I'm saying, and to me that kind of proved it. Like they want certain movies to be, you know what I'm saying, like the spotlight movie. And don't get me wrong, like I never watched Moonlight nor La La Land. I
I
didn't
I
have
did watch Moonlight.
you did. I heard it was good though. I
It
heard
was good. It
uh,
was. It actually was really good, and a lot of people, because we don't see a lot of movies, especially in the black community, about a a gay black boy, teenager to a man, because like it's three timelines.
okay.
You know what I'm saying? And so it got, I don't remember what the youngest boy name was, but the boy that played the wizard, and
Yeah.
he is the teenage version, and the older version is your boy. You remember the black dude that was in Bird Box that was with Sandra Bullock the whole time? Like he was in that. He was in that one Hulu movie. But anyway, it was like the movie was in three different timelines, and Mahershala Ali was his. I can't remember if he was his real dad or if he was his stepdad.
Okay.
But But Mahershala Ali, he killed it. It
Yeah,
was a good movie, but I think a lot of people was acting funny about it because the main character was gay.
right. And I mean, that's I mean, at the time at least, that's you know what I'm saying, not surprising. Um, but it's just I feel like that they have a certain agenda to get certain movies and certain actors, you know what I'm saying, certain acclaim that way that they can.
I remember. Did you see the Mike Tyson, the new Mike Tyson movie that they had did on Hulu?
Yeah, the one everybody don't like. I
Yeah.
didn't
Did you ever?
what you talking about.
You never? Okay, because he was the guy that played the older version
Okay, I
in
know exactly what
Moonlight.
you're talking about now. Okay.
Yes.
But so yeah, like, you know what I'm saying? I think that, you know what I'm saying, like that's they have an agenda to get certain, you know what I'm saying, like the names and the productions and all that stuff that they want to focus on. I think that's their thing. Like I said, unless it's just one of those movies to where you have to give it the credit it deserves because not only was it good, but it had the support that it deserved to get, and probably even more. Um, for instance, like Denzel in Training Day, like you got to give him that type of credit because, I mean, as many times as he's done showed his ass in roles like this one, I don't think was his best performance, but he still gave you that Denzel performance. Um, you know what I'm saying? But we've also seen people lose like Tina Turner. I mean, every goddamn time I keep wanting to call her.
Angela Bassett.
Yes. Why do I keep wanting to call this woman Vanessa? The first every time I think Angela Bassett, Vanessa pops up in my head. I don't know why.
Vanessa, you thinking of Vanessa Cass? What's her name?
Not Vanessa Bell.
Calloway.
No, no. I don't even have the last name. I'm just saying the first name that pops up in my head is Vanessa. And I know this woman's name is not Vanessa. But Angela Bassett, Queen, I'm sorry for even disrespecting you like that. You know what I'm saying? First and foremost, you're too fine for me to ever do something like that. Um, but yeah, like, you know what I'm saying, when she played Tina Turner, she didn't get the credit she deserved. You know what I'm saying? But when we seen Jamie Foxx do Ray, because he did such a phenomenal job, like that's one of those ones that if he didn't win, all hell would have broke loose. Matter of fact, hell probably would have risen that day. You know what I'm saying? Because that's how great of a job he did. But I feel like that, that's their thing, man. They try to get certain movies pushed, you know what I'm saying, and get them the attention that they're trying to get them with instead of just giving it to, you know what I'm saying, the movies that properly deserve what they should be getting. And I feel like this is a movie that I'm not surprised would get some type of Academy acclaim. Because of Jennifer Lawrence and because of Brian Tyree Henry.
But this is the thing, though. The reason I brought it up
Mhm.
is because he actually got nominated for Best Supporting Male.
Right.
I had no idea until I saw it before we started.
Yeah.
And
We didn't really watch the Oscars like that either. So
I don't, but
yeah.
like it just surprised me that now don't get me wrong, he did a phenomenal job in this film.
Yeah.
I was just surprised to see that he got nominated for best supporting role. You know what
Mhm.
I'm saying? It just I just didn't know. But he put on an acting clinic in this though. You
You
know what
know
I'm
what?
saying?
The gripe that I have about this movie, and I told you this before we even started. It's not him, it's Jennifer Lawrence. I don't like when they put her in these roles where she has to be like this dry introvert. I don't like that role for her because she's a very talented actor. If you watch her in Hunger Games, if you watched her in the Netflix movie, what was it? Don't Look Up. Like she
Yeah.
really has acting skill. Hell, she got acting skills in X-Men. You know what I'm saying? Like she really can act her ass off. But when they put her in these like dry ass roles where like she's just like this stoic character, and I know what they tried to do, like because of the fact that she had brain damage and PTSD, they wanted her to be a certain way. But I feel like she could have gave that role so much more because she's that talented. Like it's for me, it's like her knocking a notch off her belt to, you know what I'm saying, kind of conform to what she thinks or what the directors and producers want her to be, or maybe even the writers. I just don't think like those are roles for her. You know what I'm saying? Like Kristen Stewart, I could see that because like every role she plays is dry as hell. I've never seen her really do a decent job of acting outside of being like super dry and stoic. But Jennifer Lawrence, I've seen her, you know what I'm saying, like be other types of characters to where like the shit is impressive. She ain't been acting that long compared to some of these other people. And she's literally up there with some of them people. Like she's a real live A-list actress.
Dude, let me tell you what you just did, and I hate that you did this
Mm-hmm.
because I personally think that she did. I think she did a good job. Um, but you got me on some rewatchable shit. You know what I'm saying? When they talk about the recasting couch, and you got me
Yeah.
thinking. Kristen Stewart was a really good name,
Yeah.
but I think now that you said that, because you know fucked my head up.
Mm-hmm.
The person who I think would have murdered this though is Emily Blunt.
Yeah.
I think Emily Blunt would have completely took this role
She
to
would
the
have
next
brought some
level.
type of life to the character.
And I'll tell you another person who I think could have did a good job,
Mm-hmm.
Emma Stone.
Yeah.
But the people that I think that would be like top notch, I would say Emily Blunt and I
Mm-hmm.
would say Mary Elizabeth Weinstein. And I know you think I'm biased, but
No. I
she
agree.
she 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 would she would did a good job with this.
She can't do nothing right now because she's working with Disney right now. So she kind of her schedule tight.
I mean, that's understandable.
She
But
playing the new Ahsoka series right now. So she getting that bread.
oh yeah, she does. She definitely get that bread.
So
But like, I mean, but I see what you're saying. I see
yeah.
what you're saying. Like when you look at some of the things that Jennifer has been in the past,
Mm-hmm.
and then like you brought up, Don't Look Up, and I, Don't Look Up was a little bit different. I
I
don't
mean, I
think.
know comedic, but I'm just saying, like the life that she brought into that character is believable. Okay,
Yes, yes,
Silver Linings Playbook is a perfect example
yes.
where
She murdered that.
she was dealing with trauma. You feel me? But
Hmm.
yet and still, she had it felt like her character had life. Like this character feels dead already. Like I feel like if they would have made her a ghost and she was able to just go back to her town and then made him a ghost and he would, you know what I'm saying? Like they met up that way, then it would have been a better explanation as to why her character was so dry.
I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. Um, but I think Brian though he was like the
He was the saving grace for sure.
yes, he was definitely like the person for this film. And so there was a scene where because like they whole interaction of like how they met each other and how they let's call it like develop this friendship or whatever.
Right.
And I think that for the people who never seen this movie, like you mentioned it earlier, she was involved in an accident that happened when she was in Afghanistan, gave her the brain damage, and she had to go to therapy and all this type of shit. And when she got out of therapy, she was able to go home, but she didn't want to be home. Her whole mission, the whole time throughout this movie, was getting herself back healthy so she can rejoin and be back in active duty.
Right.
And everybody's like, yo, like you blew up in a truck and you want to go back? Like, yo, like what's your deal? And she was like, yo, I just have to get out of here. She just felt to get as far away from the New Orleans area as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And
You
James
let me cut you off.
is
Let me cut
oh
you off because
okay.
I think what you talked when we talked about it earlier. What you said was a little bit better, and a little bit more profound. When you were saying that it wasn't just necessarily the New Orleans area, it was her mom's house.
Yes.
I think that her being around her mom and we seen in the movie kind of the relationship that they kind of had. Like it was loving, but it was like love from a distance in a weird way. You know what
Yes.
I'm saying? And I feel like because of that, and you know what I'm saying, like her being there, like, you know what I'm saying, we'll get into it later, kind of some of the things that were going on there, like because of what she was going through, it made it even more difficult to be there. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And she got away for that reason, but to come back after having dealt with that trauma, to come back to that same environment, I think that's what kind of made everything worse because we kind of see later on down the line, once she starts hanging out with James, she kind of changes a little bit and some things kind of get better. Like we don't see her as and granted she is taking medication through all of this, but
Yes.
we don't see her as anxious and as stressed out as she is when she's, you know what I'm saying, like around her mom, which I think has a lot to do with, you know what I'm saying, her episodes throughout the movie.
Yeah. And then also, she spoke about where when there would be instances where her brother would be, high out of his mind, and they
Mhm.
would sit at the table and like just the way that her and her brothers and her mom interaction was to where she was just like, yo, like I just got to get out of here. Like I got to get away from here.
Right.
And so she just kind of really looked at her mom's house like a sinkhole. And I mean, the house was kind of like, I mean, it was like really like a piece of shit house. Like her mom didn't keep it up. Like,
Mhm.
the house was really in bad shape. And so there's a scene where they James and Lindsay had went to he had helped her get this exercise machine because she wanted to work out on this exercise machine and she couldn't pick it up and put it on the truck herself. So she called him, he came to help, and when they dropped it off, she was like, yo, can we, you hungry? He was like, yeah. She was like, let's go hit up a spot. So they hit up a spot and they sitting there, talking. And I mean, this ain't really that relevant, but this guy, well, it kind of is because this guy
It
comes
is
up
very
and, and,
relevant.
and, and tries to hit on her.
Yeah.
And she brushed him off very politely, but my
Mhm.
man kept coming. You know what I mean? And so James like, yo, man, just leave my girl alone, man. You know what I'm saying? He's like, yo, man, my bad. I didn't know it was your girl. He was like, it was worth a shot.
Mhm.
So they fucking leave, and she was like, yo, about that, what happened. He was like, I know I called you my girl, but I ain't really mean it like that. And she was like, well, the reason I, want to bring it up is because like I basically go after girls, saying that she's a lesbian. And so he was like, all right, man, cool, no big deal. So they are, they sitting out and they smoking and shit. And he tells her the story about, and that's why the movie's called Causeway. And
Mhm.
it's really brilliant when you think about it, is because the accident that he got into a car accident with his ex fiance, her son, and his nephew. And if they never got into that accident on Causeway, then they would never even be sitting together on this bench. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? So he tells her the story about getting in the accident, and that's why, because she mentioned about the way that he walked, and
Mhm.
he had a limp because he had, half of his leg cut off from his kneecap. After his kneecap, his leg was cut off, so she could tell that he had a prosthetic, and so he's telling her about the accident, and she's telling him about what happened to her over there and about why she wants to leave and all this type shit. So she ended up driving him home because he was drinking too much. So they go to his crib. So then they at his crib, he's like, yo, you in a rush? She's like, nah. So they sitting there talking, and he's like, yo, like, well, she's telling him, yo, your house is great, this is nice. And he was like, yeah, I bought it for my mom when me and my fiance got together. He was like, yeah, but now it's too big. And he was like, because she ended up leaving him after the accident. And the way he put it was, she left me after I lost my leg, basically. That's how he would put it. And so my man just hit her with, yo, you can move in here if you want. He was like, yo, it's enough rooms. He was like, shit, we wouldn't even see each other. But he was like, man, we can, drink coffee in the morning, smoke weed during the day, and we can and he's like, and we can cook the dinner together sometimes or whatever. And so she kind of like brushed it off or whatever, but that's when like they friendship really kind of, I don't know if you want to call it getting weird, because the whole thing was kind of weird, because it was kind of like you got two people who are, when they interact with each other, they you can tell like they're feeling each other, but it's like both of them are holding back. But you also are looking at them like, okay, are y'all only entertaining each other because both of y'all went through, what I'm saying, traumatic situations?
Yeah.
And that's what it kind of felt like. It kind of felt like that both of them was dealing with their own trauma, and they bonded off of the trauma that they were going through.
Right.
Which you see that a lot with people. You see people who went through trauma and they find this connection within their traumas, and they kind of build a bond. I think that's something that we kind of do as humans.
Absolutely. I think this is a, a, an important, if I could talk, an important pivot point. Well, I don't even know how I got that out just now. In the movie, because like you said, this is kind of like the start of their friendship, right? Like this is where they kind of start that bonding experience. Um or this is where they legitimately start the bonding experience, because it kind of started when, what I'm saying, they met each other at the auto shop. But like to further, get deeper into what they're creating, like this is the moment where it's like starting to become official that they're becoming friends. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And even the fact that they're talking to each other about their traumas, and you know what I'm saying, like knowing that they're both going through something, or they have been through something as well. I think this is where the connection kind of starts, and it kind of in a weird way blossoms from there, from this point in the movie at least.
I mean, I would say the same, because there was a scene where, her and her mom was, having like a little conversation or whatever, and she was telling her mom that she had a doctor's appointment,
Right.
and she was like, "What time is it?" And so she told her, she was like, "Well, I'll take you." And another thing her mom was really kind of weird about was when Lindsay told her that she had a job. Cause well, her mom offered her to come work where she worked, like, and her mom worked in like some kind of office or whatever. And so Lindsay was like, "Well, I got a job already." And
Mm-hmm.
she was like, "What are you doing?" She's like, "Cleaning pools." She's like, "Why would you do that in 90-degree weather when you can work inside in the building?" And she was like, "Well, mom, I can't sit down in a place and look at a computer screen. Like it's gonna mess with my brain." And she was like, "Well, that's silly for you to be working outside and doing all this and all that or whatever." And so she was just like, she had a doctor's appointment, and she was like, "I'll take you." So she's sitting there waiting on her. Mom Duke's late, so she calls James.
Yeah.
James to the rescue. And so James is like, and she's telling James like, because he's like, "She let you down a lot." She was like, "Yeah," and for some odd reason, it surprises me every time when she does. And so they had a little bit of time. He was like, "Yo, I could take you to get a snow cone or whatever." So they stopped and get snow cones. She ended up dropping hers because of her, brain injury and all this type shit. And she got a little upset about that. But so, like, anytime she needed something, she'd always call James.
Mm-hmm.
James was always available.
Mm-hmm.
But when the turning point came was when she was like, "Yo, let's hang out at this one pool." because the people are out of town or whatever. James comes and like she get in the water. She tell James to get in. He was like, "Nah, I ain't really a swimmer." She's like, "Oh man, just get in." So he get in. They fucking around, and so then this is when shit got real because now James is like, "Yo, there's something I didn't tell you about the accident." And so he's like, "My nephew was in the front seat when he
Mhm.
wasn't big enough to be in the front seat, and also he was still small enough to where he needed to be in a booster seat." And the way that they kind of made it kind of sounded like the nephew died,
Right.
but the fiance and her son didn't die.
Right.
And so he's getting all teary eyed and stuff. So she comes over and give him a hug while they're in the pool, and then she starts kissing him. And so then you think, well, me anyway, I'm like, yes, you know what I
Mm.
mean? And then she pulls back, and he's like, "What you do that for?" Man, you want to talk about a disappointing moment? She said, "Because I felt bad for you."
12
yo,
gauge success.
I'm like, yo, you want to talk about that is the last thing you want to hear from a girl say I kissed you. Is
Yo,
because I felt bad for you.
why do women think like when dudes are sad, the first thing they should do is like show some type of ultimate sexual affection?
I mean, listen, I ain't mad at it if it's genuine, but
But
like,
it never is.
I mean, no, it's not. And in that situation, it wasn't. And then it ended up starting an argument.
Of
And
course.
so,
Because
and
bitch,
then,
what was this
yeah,
for?
yeah, like why even do this if it's not genuine? You know what I'm saying?
Like,
And
exactly. Like
so,
you could have just continued talking to me and everything would have been just fine.
yeah, and so then they get into an argument, and then she was like, "Yo, did you drink?" And he was like, "I had 2 beers or whatever." And so then he had got on to her about her wanting to leave and all this type shit. He was
Mm,
like, "Yo, it's like you keep running from stuff, but maybe like the issue is you. Like you sit here and you talk about your mom, you talk about your brother. Well, he said your dead brother, and she was like, "My brother's not dead." He was
mhm.
like, "Well, when you talk about him, you always talk about him in the past tense." And she was like, "Well, he's in prison." And so anyway, he ended up leaving. And I thought that that part was so important because what it ended up doing, I think it had her reevaluating herself and
Yeah,
how she approached different things because she was approaching things very bad.
right. And the interesting thing is that this movie didn't choose to go the therapy route. And I feel like even though like we seen Lindsay deal with her doctor and you know what I'm saying, like getting the medication and stuff like that, I think it would have kind of been a lot easier with all of this that was going on with her PTSD, her brain damage situation, like her or even her and James having separate moments where they were in like therapy, excuse me, as well. Adding that to this movie, I think would have made it just a little bit better because now they're kind of dealing with the issues at hand, but also trying to navigate life while dealing with those issues because like don't get me wrong, like the fact that they're telling each other what happened is great, but it's not the same as when you go into a therapist and you know what I'm saying, like they helping you get the work done on yourself to you know what I'm saying to progress. And I think that if they would have just added that little caveat into the movie, I think that this movie could have been that much better. And I think that with her character, I think her character would have been that much better as well. Because a lot of this is really just her character going through the motions of having PTSD and dealing with brain damage, right? With James's character, it's not necessarily the trauma that he's dealing with. I think it's more so him really just searching for companionship because on his end of the bargain, we see that he's dealing with stress, he's dealing with loss or grief. He's also dealing with guilt. You know what I'm saying? Like he's also dealing with kind of like survivor's remorse. So it's so many things in his, you know what I'm saying? Like not only that, he's disabled now. Well, not I don't want to say disabled, handicapped. That's a better
Yeah,
term.
handicap. Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
he's handicapped now. Um, and so it's so many things that he still has to deal with that he's kind of trying to shed light on. But I felt like with like seeing them in therapy sessions, getting the information, getting the, you know what I'm saying, the proper help that they need, stuff like that, and then coming together and dealing with what they're dealing with. Like to me, even in that situation, say they do get into an argument. That argument is that much more better now because we've seen those therapy sessions in the movie to know what's really going on, right? And so what I really gather from this is just the fact that he really needs a companion or he's looking for a companion in her to where she's not necessarily looking for a companion. She's just more so looking for a friend, right? She's kind of looking
Yeah,
for sanctuary from the toxic environment that she's accustomed to. You know what I'm saying? Like being around him, it seems like because he's actually there for her, he genuinely cares for her, he's really being a friend. A lot of her issues don't seem to pop up around him. And this is what I was alluding to earlier. Like a lot of her, you know what I'm saying, problems don't pop up because she doesn't have to stress around him. She doesn't have to really worry around him. Around him, he's really doing the best to take care of her. And I think she's also trying to navigate that because like a lot of the times in their interactions, before they actually get into like the deep conversations or even the argument, a lot of times in their interactions, she's thinking that he's just coming on to her. When in all actuality, he really just being a good friend. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's hard for her to differentiate the two. So her initial reaction is like him asking for the number. She like, oh well, I don't know my number. You know what I'm saying? Like, even though she was genuine about it, the way it came off was like, I don't want to give you my number because it's not really that type of situation. Or even when she stopped, you know what I'm saying, stopped them in the car to talk to him about, you know, I, I'm a lesbian, basically. And he like, yeah, I just told you that I wasn't trying to, you know what I'm saying, like say it like that. I was really just saying it, you know what I'm saying, to protect you. And so I think he's being exactly what she wants, but I don't think she's being what he wants, if that makes sense.
it does. It makes a lot of sense, but I don't think that he would be mad if she would turn that companionship to a relationship. But
Well, no,
I
I'm
don't
not
think
even
initially.
yeah, no,
Yeah,
I'm not even saying the relationship part. And what I'm saying by companionship is just the fact that like for instance when he said, you know, you can live here, you know what I'm saying, and we can, you know, make coffee, drink coffee in the mornings and, you know, smoke weed during the day and cook dinner sometimes. I don't think that that was his way of saying that I'm trying to make you a girlfriend or I want you to be like a girlfriend. I'm saying companionship just as far as having somebody around, you know what I'm saying, who you feel comfortable with. And I guess you could say the same thing for her. She's probably looking for the companionship too, just the fact that you have somebody around that you feel comfortable with being around. You know what I'm saying? Like, cause he's
yeah,
used to having a fiance there. He's used to having a family in this house. And now that they're gone, he's literally by himself. So he just wants to have that feeling of having someone there back. That's his whole, to me, I looked at it like that's his whole purpose
yes,
of saying, you know, why don't you move here? But she wants to get away from the toxic environment at her mom's house. And her whole reason for trying to go back overseas is that reason. But when he gives her that offer, you know what I'm saying? She's kind of looking at it like, well, you know, I'm not really sure. but this is what she's really looking for. I just don't think she knows it because of the things that she's been through and the problems that came from it. I think it's kind of hard for her to differentiate between the two in those moments. And I think with those conversations that they end up having, it kind of made it a little bit easier for her to kind of come around to the fact that he's really not trying to come on to her. It's just the fact that he enjoys her company and he really is enjoying being her friend.
Yeah, and I think that that happens, man. Like, I don't think people really understand the significance of like being lonely.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a real thing, and I think that because you can sit back and you can look at this person and be like, dude, like you just met her a couple of weeks ago, and now you offering, you know what I'm saying, a place for her to live because she don't quote unquote like her living situation, living with her mom in that house. But I think that you, you know what I'm saying, the way you put that so perfectly. I'm not gonna, you know what I'm saying, try to regurgitate it or anything. But like he was lonely. And I think that he felt comfortable with her enough to ask her to move in. And I think that them actually having that argument was really the best thing to happen because
Hmm.
he was able to hit that switch in her head to where she was able to finally she was finally able to like see the light because she had another doctor's appointment. She goes sees her doctor, and he actually clears her. She has a full bill of health, and she's actually good enough to go back overseas. But I think because of the argument and her, you know, he she went to go pick up the truck. She asked because James wasn't there at the time. His associate was there, and he handed her the key. She's like, "How much I owe you?" He's like, "Nothing."
Hmm.
And she was like, "What do you mean?" He was like, "James didn't tell you." And she was like, "No." And he was like, "He said something about you being in the military is free." And so even after they had the argument, he fixed her car for free. You know what I'm saying? She tried to call him. He wouldn't answer any of her phone calls. And so it got to the point where all she wanted was to get cleared. She get cleared, and what she does, she goes over. She has a 6 pack. She pops up on James while he's sitting on the porch, and she just basically was just like, you didn't have to do that. I would have paid. He was like, nah, big deal or whatever. And then she was like, do the offer still stand?
Hmm.
And he was like, what do you mean? And she was like, you don't remember asking me? You're like asking you, and she was like, to live here and all this type shit. So she re-said the same thing that he said to her about, we can drink coffee in the morning, we can smoke weed during the day, we can cook at dinner sometimes, and all this type shit. And so he was like, yo, like, what are you doing? Like, what are you trying to do? And she was just like, I'm trying to make a friend.
Right.
And then the movie ends. So it's like, I mean, you kind of you get the drift. You know that he accepts the offer of her,
Yeah.
moving in. But I think the whole point of it is the fact of like she realized maybe going back isn't the best thing.
Right.
And maybe I should entertain this whole idea of living with him and building a rapport with this guy that I feel comfortable with, someone who at least gets the part of like actually dealing with something.
Yeah.
And I think that the writing of this show, I'm not show, but this movie, I think it was pretty good. I thought it was really clever, and it was really small. It was, I mean, you know, this is just me, just really just being on my shit. But like when they was sitting on that bench, and he was like, "Yeah, I got into the accident over on Causeway," and it was really quick, and it was just like, "Oh shit!" And I didn't catch that the first time. The first time I watched it, I didn't catch it because I was wondering like, what kind of name of a movie like Causeway, like. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? I know some movies be having weird names and shit, but it never occurred to me till the second time I watched it, and I was like, that's why they called it Causeway. Because if it never would have been for that accident, he probably never would have even tried to fix her truck for free or put the effort in to pick her up, seeing her walking down the street. Because if he never got into that accident, maybe his fiance would be his wife at this point. Nothing would have happened to his neck. You know what I'm saying? He
Yeah.
would have approached her totally different
Yeah.
if the accident never happened on Causeway.
Right.
So I thought that was really clever of how they put that. But man, you got my brain wondering, man. Now it's like I can see this movie, but I can see Emily Blunt now, and it's like,
Yeah.
man, you fucked me up. You fucked me up.
Yeah,
But
I'm telling you, man. To me, Kristen Stewart, like, and the Kristen Stewart I'm thinking of is Twilight.
see, that's not the one I'm thinking about.
What do you talk to me?
So, have you ever seen this movie called? I think it's Seabird. No, it's Seabird.
Mm-mm.
So she plays this. Um, I was about to say something stupid. I was about to say she plays this white lady. Duh.
Hey, she does a phenomenal job at that.
No, I'm gonna tell you why I said that though. Because she ends up getting into a relationship with a Black Panther, and he's married.
White
But
lady.
like she's fucking no dude with her, but she's like helping him like at the not the clinic, but the
Breakfast program.
yeah, basically she's helping him there, and like so she's fucking him on the side or whatever. But like what ends up happening is like she plays a real person. This person is real,
Mm-hmm.
and she ends up like getting threatened by the government and shit. And I think she ended up writing a book or some shit like that. I think I can't remember what this movie came out on, but she played a really 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 good part
Mm-hmm.
in that fucking movie. I think it was called Seabird. But that's the when you said Christian Stewart, that was the first thing that came in my mind was
Man,
that
let me
movie.
just the title of that movie made me think that this lady lived in Rhode Island by the lighthouse.
Well, what was her last name?
No, I mean, oh, that's what's up. I'm just saying the title Seabird, I'm thinking like she is like this depressed lady living in the cottage off by the lighthouse. That's the
Yeah,
first that's the first image that popped in my head. I'm like, damn, this was
yeah.
a horrible movie. But that
It's in
actually
the cottage.
good. That actually sounds pretty good. I'm interested to go watch this now because first and foremost, I want to see what the dynamic is between her and the other members of the Black Panther Party, knowing that at the time, um, some of the beliefs of the Black Panther Party were a bit extreme. Some would say, uh, especially towards the more paler members of society.
Yeah, it was a wild movie, man. It was a wild movie because I think both of them was like married at the time, and then like what I'm saying
All
the
right, hold
Black
on.
Panther.
Now that I'm thinking about it, you sure this ain't an FBI propaganda movie?
No, 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 no. Like
This is
no,
a
she
real
fucked.
person.
Well, yeah, it was the FBI like fucking with her. Like they was gonna arrest her.
Man, that's kind of
I'm telling you, dude.
COINTELPRO, man. That's what it really was. This white woman
Man.
was infiltrating. First,
See, I knew you were gonna do that.
yeah,
If you watch it,
I'm gonna watch it now.
you'll see.
I'm
You'll
gonna watch
see.
it now just to see because she was infiltrating the Panther Party by sleeping with one of the members who was married at all. Let this man break the morals. You know they
Man.
couldn't get white flesh in the 60s and 70s, man. They was all over the white women in the 60s and 70s, bro.
Yeah, you stupid.
Some of that shit
That's
spilled
hilarious.
over the 80s too.
Oh man. Hey boy, you stupid as fuck. That's
They
funny.
loved white girls in them 3 decades. They loved them to death.
Uh
That was their target audience, was white women. But no. I mean, all jokes aside, man. I really think because of, and the only reason I say Twilight is because a lot of the criticism about Kristen Stewart in Twilight was just the fact that her character was just so stoic, right? Excuse me. And if you really go back and watch it, really, her and Jacob, I mean not Jacob, Edward's characters were kind of the same. Um Jacob's character was a little bit more lively, but it was I don't know because even the family that Edward was with, um they were lively as well, even though they were vampires too. Like they still had it felt like they had a little bit more personality. Like Edward was just like this depressed, emo ass teenager in high school, even though this nigga was damn sure not a teenager. And this is another thing. I didn't understand this, right? When this nigga got turned into a vampire, this nigga was a grown ass man at the time of being turned into a vampire. What made them think that he looked young enough to be in high school?
I thought he was a teenager when he got bit though.
Nah,
I don't
man.
know. I haven't seen Twilight in a minute.
That nigga was like early 20s when he got turned in. Because matter of fact, I believe when they showed him getting turned into a vampire, he was supposedly like going on a date or something. And this nigga had on like the Dick Tracy trench coat with the hat and shit.
Oh,
Like he was going to the movies. Yeah, nah, man. Nah. That nigga, they should have known this nigga wasn't young enough to be in high school. Jacob definitely looked like he was in high school for sure. Kristen Stewart, she didn't look like she was in high school either. I don't know where they got that shit from. Shit was weird, man. The nigga was grown as fuck. Like really grown though. Like them niggas was hundreds of years
yo,
old. You know what I'm saying?
that's just like that meme that's floating around where they got a picture of Full Force when they was in
Ain't
house
yeah.
party, and he said they really tried to convince us that they were 17.
Okay, so listen, the genius of Full Force was the fact that they were like meathead jocks.
Yeah,
So everybody knows like the meathead jocks usually was like 7-year seniors at that time. So it was possible them niggas were really in high school. That didn't really surprise me too much as to seeing Edward, who did his best to shave off all of his 5 o'clock shadow and everything else while he was in high school. First, and this nigga was pale as fuck. Didn't nobody think that was weird? Like this nigga just walking through the halls like I'm talking about like milk white. Nobody thought that was weird. This nigga didn't look weird to nobody. That shit was crazy.
oh man.
This nigga was literally walking around the halls of that high school, dead body white, and nobody said nothing. Like, that shit was wild, bro. They really need I think we need to go revisit Twilight and really talk about the issues of Twilight, bro. I think that's something that we need to do as a team is just go
Oh
back and
shit.
watch movies that we know certain shit just shouldn't have flew in these movies because that's fucking crazy. Kristen
Oh my
Stewart, I know she was a senior, and I think that's what was kind of believable too, because she kind of looked like, well, yeah, it's like she kind of could have been a senior, but she was definitely college age. So the fact that like, you know what I'm saying, like they was supposedly coming out of that senior year, it wasn't as bad. But with him, that nigga looked like Tom from Accounting.
Hey boy, you stupid as fuck,
Yeah,
boy.
that they was bugging with that pick. But like I said, Jacob definitely looked like he could have been high school. Um, but no, that the Twilight series, like I said, their criticisms is what kind of showed um just how, you know what I'm saying, just how lifeless her character kind of was in a sense. Like they were
Yeah.
saying, like the faces she was making, the body language she had, how she was so monotone when she talked a lot and had those conversations. So I think like if she would have been the main character in this, and then you add Brian Tyree Henry in that too, like I think that would have probably it would have felt like something better. I think because you had J Law in there, knowing her work, knowing her resume, what she's done, like, yeah, this was too much at a standstill for her, to me at least. So that's, yeah, I really couldn't rock with her being in there. And then not only that, it's just like when she was acting out her going through the episodes, it didn't seem too believable.
I mean, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. And I mean, like Kristen Stewart, like I fuck with Kristen Stewart. She's in one of my guilty pleasure movies. She was in this movie called In the Land of Women. I
Hmm.
fuck with that movie. But she was, playing a teenager in that shit too.
Right.
But like,
That's crazy.
well, I mean, I think In the Land of Women came out in like 2002 or 2003 or some shit. So like,
She was
it would have
born.
made sense. Like it would have made sense. I think. What fucking year that movie came out?
Ooh,
It
wait a
was.
minute. Was she born in the 80s? I wouldn't be surprised if she was like 40 something right now.
She is not 40 something, man. You
I'm
need
about
to
to
stop.
look up. I'm
Well, no,
about
it came out. It came out in 2007, and Kristen Stewart was born in 1990.
really.
Yes.
She is aging horribly.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Nigga, she look more older than I do.
Hey, boy, you stupid, man.
She looked my age. That's not good. Um so yeah, man, let's go ahead and move on, man. We getting to the end of the show. And it's time for us to rate this joint. And you already know, man, fire flame time. You ready?
Let's do it.
Yoga fire. Yoga flame.
All right, man. What you giving this joint?
Okay, man. Since you messed my head up, because not honestly, like, cause it never really crossed my mind into replacing Jennifer Lawrence.
Hmm.
But then, like, once you put that idea in my head, and it's just like, yo, it's like now I can see this movie, and I just feel like, yo, I feel like Emily Blunt would have just took the shit to the next level. But I'm not mad at Jennifer Lawrence though, man. She's really good. But Brian Tyree Henry, like I said, he put on a clinic. He got Oscar nominated. I mean Oscar nominated. God damn. He got nominated for an Oscar as the best leading supporting role. I didn't know that, but not surprised. I think the writers did a pretty good job with this. Like I think that I feel like even though Apple being the brand that it is, I feel like in regular life now, don't get me wrong, I don't talk to a ton of people. I got a real tiny circle. But like you're like the only person I know got Apple TV Plus. It's like a lot of people just really don't have it. So I think that's why this movie kind of really not really talked about or seen. But I think for what it was, um, honestly, I'm gonna give it. I almost gave it a 3.5, but I ain't gonna. You know what? I'm gonna give it. Oh man, I'm really between 3.5 and a four.
Mm.
Um, cause she fucked me up. I was ready to give it a four, and then I got to thinking about if Blunt would have played it. You know what? I'm gonna stay with my gut. I'm gonna give it a four. I fucked with this movie. I thought it was pretty good.
Okay.
So that's why I'm gonna rock with a four.
Um, the cast was amazing. The story was actually pretty good. You know what I'm saying? I don't think we really kind of honed in on that as much. Like the writers, I think, did a good job because of the fact of having two people that have gone through super traumatic situations and accidents the way that they did. Um, and then you know what I'm saying, seeing them kind of connecting, or what some people would say trauma bonding over. Um, I thought that was super interesting to add that into a movie of this type of caliber, only because this, to me, I feel like when you want to take a risk like that, that's something this, or I feel like this is something that should have been on the big screen, and I feel like this is something that could have done well in theaters. And I think people really would have supported this had it been in theaters. But being on Apple TV, like you said, it's not really too many people out here that are really on Apple TV as much compared to like Netflix, Hulu, Max, and all those. Um, Even though it's kind of grown because of the whole Ted Lasso series, I think they're kind of getting there. They have a lot of great content, and they have content so much so to where they really can compete with the rest of these streaming apps. And I think that because they've been getting so many big names and so many stars to come do shows and movies and stuff like that, that they're definitely on their way. But I felt like this movie being on Apple TV is really just a testament to how well that platform is doing and how well that platform is at creating content for its consumers. To have Brian Tyree Henry and Jennifer Lawrence in the movie together and to be able to make them connect as well as they did, because they do actually have good chemistry in this movie. I think that that was a very risky idea, but it ended up working. Like I said, my only gripe is just with her character in general. I felt like her character was just too dry. And for that, I'm going to have to go 3. It's a solid 3, but I'm going 3
Cool, cool. I ain't mad at it. I ain't mad at it.
for sure, man. All right, so let's move on, man. Let's get into the coming soon.
Let's do it.
Coming soon to own on video and DVD.
All right, man. Next movie we got for you is a very interesting movie. Creatively, um also creatively risky. Uh am I tripping? It's not, is it Colin Farrell or is it the one dude that was in no,
No,
he was in Man on Legs. It's Colin Farrell, right?
it is Colin Farrell.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
Colin Farrell is the star of this movie, man. This movie is shot pretty much in uh one setting for the most part. We talk about phone booth. I say that this movie is creatively risky because of, at the time, we didn't have too many movies where the main setting was just, you know what I'm saying, one area. And because of that, I I just think that they put this together very well. I can't wait to really dive into it on the next episode. So yeah, y'all just stay tuned.
Yes, sir. This we'll get to it. We get to it.
Yeah, for sure, man, for sure,
Yes.
for sure. Because this was, I think my thing is gonna be when I watch this though. I think my thing is gonna be more so seeing how they kind of centered everything around the location. You know what I'm saying? And how
Mhm.
everything kind of connected. I think that's, to me, the most important part of this movie. And that's, I mean, of course, that's the focus of the movie is, being in the phone booth, but because of the fact that this is the thing, um seeing how they kind of laid this out, I think it's gonna be super interesting to rewatch. Um, Listen, if you guys like Causeway, if you didn't like Causeway, if you enjoyed the cast, hit us up on socials. I bet. Oh my goodness, I'm sorry. Hit us up on socials: Instagram, Twitter at View and I Pod. Hit us up on Facebook, VA Pod Watch Group. Follow us and join our community on Twitter, Viewers Anonymous. And also, if you're following the podcast, make sure to hit that subscribe button. $2.99 a month. We got episodes in there ready to go for you. New and some old. Just definitely go check those out. You won't be disappointed. And if you like to follow me, man, you can follow me on Twitter at Scoots Bronson. I have a link tree in my bio. You can find me everywhere else there. Everywhere else there. I can't talk today.
Me neither. Y'all can find me at s.foster8 on Instagram and on Twitter. At 28 minutes or less pod. That's just on IG. Follow the podcast 28 minutes or less. So all major platforms. Last episode is 133. Rooting for the bad guy, and that's all I got, man.
Cool, man. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching. Until the next episode, man. Ooh, I messed that up. Run it back. Until the next episode. That's a wrap.
Cut.
I don't even know how to switch it. Hold on. I gotta get my voice out here. I'm working on it, y'all. I'm working on it. Peace out, man.